Welcome to edition 120 of All Killa No Podcast. All Killa No Filla podcast with me, Rachel Fairburn and Kiri Pritchard-McLean. Just before we start, we'll do our usual disclaimer. This isn't hero worship, it is podcast because of mutual interest in serial killers. As long as we are doing this podcast, it stops us from writing to them in prison. I got distracted by a van that was passing the front door then.
Okay. All right. That's all right. That's okay. Yeah. We're all fallible.
Yeah.
This is the first time, I think, that we have ever recorded this podcast and done the research based on an audience, a country's request to cover something.
Yeah, I don't know why they requested it, to be honest. It's fucking horrible. It's genuinely depressing. I've never struggled. There's something about that side of the world that really, when the murders really sort of bring me down, and I don't know what it is.
We should clarify that this is off the back of us. If you're listening for the first time, we went on a tour of Australia and New Zealand, as All Killa No Filla, but with our solo shows as well. And whilst we were in New Zealand, they said, I think it was on the last day, right? It was maybe in Wellington.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
They said, you haven't talked about David Bain and the murder of the Bain family. Can you please discuss it? And we were like, well, no, in fact, they said, who do you think did it? And we were like, actually, we haven't heard of this case.
We're like, sorry, you might find your country massively interesting, but we've never heard about this.
Well, it is a huge, huge sort of divisive thing. We hadn't realised. So, yeah, then we've done our due diligence. We've done the research. And honestly, the family, it just all sounds absolutely horrible.
Well, I will be honest. I just think the whole thing's really grim. It makes me feel a bit sick.
Yeah.
Reading about it, and it's just horrible, isn't it?
The antithesis of how we felt when we were in Australia and New Zealand. What a set of countries. An incredible part of the world.
It is, really enjoy it. It seems like a distant memory now, though.
It really does.
It's always weird, isn't it? You go somewhere and you come back, it's like you've never been. It's really strange. Although I was actually in Ibiza the other day for a gig. And
what?
Yeah. Went last Sunday, went to do a gig in Ibiza. May I just say, some of the worst people I've ever encountered in the audience. Genuinely, really, I saw this, I've not seen this for a long time. Women that hate women.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was sort of watching at the back, there was a couple of sort of in the mid-40s, I'd say, women. And the comedian that was on was doing some jokes, but doing a joke about female footballers, but doing it like subversive, you know, like saying that, you know, the kind of people that go, well, they don't get paid as much as the men because of whatever, right? Okay, it's a very contentious issue, whatever. But one of them at the back went, I've been saying this about them. I thought, we've got one of these, have we? We've got two older pick-me girls. Cool. So I could see them, and they were just really fucking horrible. Like, and then I went on, and they both started talking to each other and left when I was on stage.
No.
But do you know what? It's fine. It's like, it's that kind of thing of like, I don't know who you're trying to impress, but the men aren't interested anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't get that vibe. But they were, and then they sort of came back in for the headline act.
No, fucking hell.
Yeah. I imagine that maybe the brains are MDMA drug-addled, I don't know. But I just, just really, it doesn't bother me anymore, though. I just find it quite pathetic.
It also is such a weird thing of like, it's sort of like, without being like, it's actually your loss, but like, what? So you're not going to engage in art made by any women? Like, oh, okay, enjoy all the stuff lads are pumping out at the moment.
It's a genuine thing, and I've not seen it for a very long time. And I've, when I see it, it always shocks me, and I was like, oh, okay, I get this. I don't know what you're, and it's like some sort of like comments online sometimes. You know, I don't read comments. And basically you have to hide loads of words as a woman online, don't you? Like bitch, whore, slut, cunt. You know, those kind of words. You have to hide those to protect yourself. And then sometimes you'll get a woman and it's like, your comments are for the men.
Yeah.
And they hate you as well.
Yeah.
So just, do you know what I mean? It's like, I find it quite funny in a way. Anyway, Ibiza. So I was there, and then the next day I had like 5 hours there. I thought I'll go for a little wander around. Well, I really leaned into it. Within half an hour, I had a pair of tie-dye shorts on. Got myself some flip-flops and just really enjoyed myself.
Well, I've never been to Ibiza, but from my understanding, there's sort of the like, ooh, ooh, kind of like clubby bit. There's like the old-fashioned bit. But then there's also this streak of like incredibly wealthy, sort of like boutique fashion house, kind of like people who've made loads of money in sort of like the noughties who've moved out there and settled. You know, like...
Let me tell you about the fashion. Don't lean into it. I saw some of the worst clothes I've ever seen in my life. A plique, no thank you. But, I mean, I went years ago. I had 2 weeks there, best holiday I ever had. And it's great. Like, there's clubs all over. But there's just, most of it's just really nice. Like, there's just like nice beaches and nice sort of little towns and stuff like that. So that was enough for me, just a few hours. And let me just tell you this. On the way back, the British Airways air hostesses were the rudest pricks I have ever met in my life. And that is coming from me. Now, they were so rude, it was insane. Unprofessional and rude.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't want to hear your gossip about your colleagues when I'm on a plane. So you know that little galley at the back?
Yeah.
I was sat near the back and there were two of them were really slagging off other members of staff. And I'm thinking, you're in a position here that if we go down like a fucking dart, I'm meant to trust you. And all I think you are is a sly piece of shit now. Anyway, I had like, you're allowed cabin baggage. And I got on the thing and one of them just wrestled it off me. I was like, okay. I was just going to put it in her overhead. Well, you can't. I went, okay. And she went, I'll deal with it. I went, all right. Then I'm getting off the plane. I'm like, where's my bag? And I said, oh, I can't find my case. I gave you a ticket. I went, yeah, but I don't know what it is. Well, it's gone in the hold. And I said, oh, sorry, what with me not working here? I wouldn't know that. So, to the point of, I was like, I'm going to complain about these people. Honestly, so fucking rude.
I will just say for BBC Balance here that if you are a member of cabin crew and you're going to slag off your staff, that is exactly what I want to listen to while I'm on a plane.
No, sorry. I just think in an environment where it's like, this is a serious environment, you want to bitch, fine. Do it later on where people can't hear you. Go. It was so unprofessional.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, you people hate the people you're working with and you hate us as well.
Yes. Yeah, I guess if the plane does go down, that you can...
I don't want to die with these people. I want to fucking die with these cunts.
When I was coming back from, so my partner and I, we went on holiday to Fiji after New Zealand, and then we were coming back via America. That was quite a tough one because America's what it is at the moment. So just immigration, stuff like that was very slow, very aggressive. Then we go through the bit, nowadays if you go to an airport, you like go through a scanner where you put your arms above your head and it sort of scans around you. So my partner's in that and he gets pulled aside and they say to him, we need to check you down because we've the machine has picked up a suspicious lump in your trousers. Now, I have to understand about this before. My partner's got quite a big willy, and what the machine had weirdly detected was a large willy. And then I had to watch a guy pat him down, but they don't use the front of the hand because that's sexual. They use the back of the hand, that is professional. So he's sort of running the back of his hand along his willy, underneath it, under the balls. He's like really getting involved because they think he's hiding something. And there's just a bit where I see the guy with his blue gloves on doing that to my partner, realise, no, there's nothing here. I'm just having a good old go on this guy's dick.
It's just flesh.
Yeah, it's just flesh. And then, but he has to still keep doing it. He can't stop halfway around and go, I've realised that this is an actual dick now. So just watching this guy go through the motions in a perfunctory way, realising that he's just having a go on my fiance was probably the best bit of the trip, if I'm honest.
Makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? Makes it all worthwhile. It was a good trip. I enjoyed it. Back to reality now, though, innit?
Back to reality. Back to murder. So this is, I think basically we should talk about the background up to the murders.
Yes.
Because there's so much to talk about with this family. They're absolutely bonkers. So technically, there are two suspects for this murder. One was found guilty, then exonerated.
And one's dead.
and one's dead. So that is David Bain, the son, and Robin Bain, the father. I'm going to start off by talking a bit about Margaret, if that's all right.
Go for it.
Margaret, I messaged you when I was researching this and said, I normally absolutely hate it when they blame the mum, but this is one where I'm like, yeah, I think the mum had quite a lot to do with this, actually.
They're a strange bunch.
They are a strange bunch. So Margaret was the eldest of 4 kids, and she grew up in a very religious household. They were Presbyterians in Alexandra. She moves to Dunedin for university. Lovely city, really like Dunedin. Very, very grey, very rainy though. Of course,
suits me.
Big Edinburgh settlement. That's why it's Dunedin.
Ah, yeah.
So she moves there. She is massively involved in the church still. She's sort of a leader for church groups and Sunday schools, things like that. She gets involved in teaching. Everyone mentions how outspoken she is, how loud she is, how forthright she is. She meets while she's teaching Robin. Robin, in contrast, is very quiet. He's quite a bit older than her. She's 25 when they get married and he's 34, but he's very quiet, very sort of insular and very good-natured, very funny. And she is just kind of, from what everyone says, just like a bit much. But they're both very religious. They both really love teaching, education, so they kind of click together. And considering the fact that they come from very religious backgrounds, they weren't. What sometimes can happen is that people are quite like bigoted, but she wasn't like that about other cultures. She's very interested, and she studied anthropology actually in university. Robin was kind of ahead of the curve in that he was really fascinated with Maori culture and was a big proponent for representing Maori culture and celebrating Maori culture at a time, basically back then in sort of like the 80s, well no, in fact 70s, where that wasn't a thing. People weren't really as accepting or championing. So they do weird things, like when they first get married, they sit in bed and they read this book called The Prophet. By
Khalil Gibran.
Yeah, the Lebanese.
Do you know who was a big fan of that book?
Go on.
Elvis Presley.
Really? Well, they would sit there and they'd read the poems to each other. So just a very sort of sexy honeymoon for them. Now, in March 27th, 1972, their first child, David Cullen Bain, is born. Shortly afterwards, they moved to Papua New Guinea in 1974. They're only meant to be there 3 years. But something about PNG, they just love it.
Wow.
So they're there for 15 years.
Bloody hell.
And I think it's because when they move over, Robin is teaching. Margaret decides she's going to stay at home. She's going to bring up the kids. She's going to home educate the kids. I say kids because there's a lot more about to come along. They have as a family a much higher status out there because of, fucking colonialism, but also they've been brought over for work and stuff. That's how it starts anyway. So he has a pretty high status. He is a deputy head teacher. They have always had a sort of tricky relationship that they're brought together by religion, but then Margaret, when she gets there, starts to go in a different direction, and it ends up with their being described as their spirituality is at odds with each other.
Okay, that's a good reason. I'm going to start using that. Tim and I have had an argument. Our spirituality is very much at odds with each other at the moment. Very much, his chakras are not aligned at the minute.
Well, she gets obsessed. Margaret gets obsessed with the sort of the local culture, the local tribes. She learns about the customs. She learns about their spirituality, their sort of their medicine that they practice in Papua New Guinea, and that the culture there was that they would have these female figures in the community who would be older. They were deemed to have, magical connections. They would be kind of healers and wise women.
Oh, great. You're not a Karen in Papua New Guinea. You're revered. Fucking good. Love to see it.
Well, but this is why Margaret is like, how do I become one of those? How do I become a woman that everyone respects and listens to? And I think that's what she was drawn to. Although she was a big fan of making her own medicine. Strap in for this. Please don't be eating.
No.
She later goes on, when she got a cold, she would make herself like a tincture made of piss and phlegm, So she
Why? What is wrong with these fucking people?
So yeah, she would drink her own piss with some phlegm in to cure colds. Yikes. Oh God, it's made me feel ill.
Oh my God.
I can imagine the colour of it. It's like, you know, one of those juices that you get when you're rushing. I think I'll have a juice, and you're like, oh, £9. Okay, thank you.
That's fucking disgusting. That's a sign of she's not well.
No, I will caveat with all this and be like, this seems like a woman who isn't well. So while she's in Papua New Guinea, she kind of moves away from Christianity and much more towards like New Age stuff. So she starts to believe in, she holds seances. She believes that she can kind of speak to the dead. She also believes that...
That was a bit like what my gig was like in Ibiza.
So she believes in previous lives. In fact, she thinks in a previous life she is related to Winston Churchill. And
what a weird choice.
It's a weird choice, isn't it?
That is a real curveball.
Well, she does the classic. She says, I'm related to the pharaohs of Egypt, which is an absolute classic. And she goes, but also Winston Churchill. So yeah, she does all this sort of like, what else? Homeopathy she gets very into. Dream analysis she's very, very into. She'll spend hours a day interpreting her dreams.
I'm having a recurring dream at the minute.
Really?
Yeah, that I've lost my Oasis tickets.
Surely that's a nightmare, Rachel.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm like, oh God, this is awful. Also, I got stuck in a loop of sleep paralysis the other night.
Is that the one where there's a figure in the corner of the room?
Yeah, weirdly though, I don't. It's like I always assume someone's outside the door. That's what I think. I don't really have a figure as such, but when I got stuck in it, and what kept happening was, I thought I'd woken up from it, and I hadn't. So it's like it's like I was stuck in this loop, and it's like you're trying to shout someone to help you and you can't, and then it's like you're trying to get out. It was fucking horrible, but not as bad as losing Oasis tickets.
Oh, I think I have that. Now you've described it like that.
Yeah.
I think I had that last night. Because that weird thing, I don't really remember my dreams, maybe like 2 or 3 a year, where I have that though, where I'm awake and I'm trying to scream my partner's name to wake me up. And you're
it's
like,
horrible, yeah.
Surely he can hear this. And because you can feel them next to you and you can hear their breathing and stuff.
And it's like you're trying to shout, but you can't form your words either. Oh my God, it's the worst. The worst. So maybe she could have helped me out with a bit of piss and phlegm for that.
Do you know what? The other thing I do is, and you know what, if it took piss and phlegm to fix it, I would do it because I think it's creepy. So I sleep often with my arms above my head. And one of the things I'll wake up because my partner's stopping me from doing it, is I scratch my arms. Ew. So like my hands are like claws and they rub themselves all over my hands. I don't know if it's like stimulation thing or whatever, but I'll wake up because my partner is like pulling them apart and putting them down so I'm not like scratching myself.
Yeah, can you stop scratching your skin off onto the bedding, please, for Christ's sake?
Yeah, but once I woke up and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, oh yeah, sorry, I was just having this dream where I had insects under my skin and I was trying to get them out. And he's like, ugh. So now every time that happens and I get woken with him very gently moving my arm away, I'm like, probably stuck in my insect hell again. Do you know what? Omar Jalali in The Mummy with that scarab beetle has got a lot to fucking answer for, because that's basically what it's playing over and over in my mind.
I think that's the only bit of that film that I know. Genuinely.
I mean, maybe it is, but like, I mean, I'm someone who loves an Indiana Jones. So The Mummy, I think, is such an absolute modern classic. I hope it's acknowledged as, I think people think maybe it's a shit film, right? But
I don't know. That's the only bit that I know of that. I've never seen Indiana Jones either, so I don't like adventure. Don't.
Can I tell you what genre my partner and I are really enjoying at the moment? It's very unlikely if you know both of us.
Go on.
One Man Army.
What's that?
Rachel. Okay, it's a genre of action film, a one-man army film. I guess the clearest example of it is Taken. So it's one man with the strength of an army.
Right, yeah.
They're all dog shit. Jason Statham usually pops up in some way. I absolutely fucking love... If the White House is involved, I'm wide for it.
Listen, then you will love the film with Gerard Butler called Plane.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like,
Writing it down.
She's writing it down. I watched this again, very unlike a genre that I, doesn't really enter my sphere. But it was on, I think it was on Netflix or something, and I started watching it, and I was like, "Wow, this is terrible," but I'm quite gripped. And when I was watching it, Tim went, "What's this called?" I went, "Plane." He went, "Oh, shut up." I'm like, "No, it's actually called Plane." Now I think I've made that up. Let me just see. I've got to check. Have I made this up? Gerard Butler. Plane.
This is such great listening for anyone on a podcast. Well, I hope we get to hear some women Google films that they can't remember
it's just
the name
called
of.
Plane. Plane.
Okay.
So, if that's the genre you're into at the minute, you will very much enjoy the film Plane. But yeah, Tim did think I was joking when I said it's called Plane.
I've just watched one with Gerard Butler and the White House, so I'm into that.
Great. Gerard Butler and the White House.
Do you know what? When we were flying, funnily enough, so when I watch films on a plane, my partner says I get it all wrong because I will just like save up all the racial injustice films that I want to watch and I'll watch them on a plane. And he's like, "You've got it all wrong." I think I've talked about this before. He watches things like Detective Pikachu. And I watched, one of the films I watched that I thought was so brilliant on the way over was set in Dunedin, and it's called Uproar, about a young Maori kid. It's really brilliant. Anyway, I'll watch heavy films. I've watched Daniel Blake on a plane, documentary. Celine Dion.
That sounded like rhyming slang for snakes on a plane. Daniel Blake on a plane.
I watch stuff that's heavy, but I tell you what, I think the most perfect plane film that's come out, and I never flew, and we did loads of flying all over the country to get to all our gigs. I would always, if I went for the toilet, I'd look up and I would see it playing on one screen. Robbie Williams Monkey Film.
Oh, no.
Everyone was watching Robbie Williams Monkey Film, and it is the absolute perfect plane film.
I couldn't. I can't.
No. Well, you're missing out, Rachel.
I'm going to be horrible here.
Oh, no.
That man is an icon in his own mind. I don't mind the guy, but can we not, make this man out to be some sort of great British pop rock icon? Stop it now, seriously.
I think, isn't it just because everything's so rubbish now, people are trying to go, when was stuff good again? And Robbie Williams is like, when I was ruling the world.
No, Robbie, it was when Oasis were around, and that's why they're on a massive tour. And, I just feel that Robbie Williams should really just be thinking, do you know what? I got lucky and I had more of a run than I should have done. You're not an artist. You are not an icon. You are, may I just say, rude box. How dare you release that and then think that you can look the great British public in the fucking eye?
Would you like to know a fascinating fact about Rude Box? Well,
go on.
Only fascinating if you're friends with me, really. So Ben, lovely Ben Rouse from Taro, the poshest man in the world. We had a house. In fact, maybe you were there. I had a party at mine where we had karaoke in the barn, sure. He sung one song and it was, without looking at the lyrics, Rude Box.
No.
Which is someone who's been to probably the best private school in the UK, or one of the best, and then went on to Cambridge is...
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of person that would know all the fucking words to Rude Box. In someone like me... That's exactly who fucking Rude Box is for. I swear to God. Look, I just don't know. I have no interest in the Robbie Williams film. I have no interest in it whatsoever. So what I did watch on the way back, I watched 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Have you just seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, Rachel.
Look, I spent the 90s being busy. I had a bike. I was into bands. I wasn't interested in watching, rom-coms, but I quite enjoyed it. Also, she is a problematic character.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, who is this asshole who's barreling through everyone's lives? If that character was male, toxic.
Well, yeah, I think lots of films from that era, no one, male or female, stands up to much scrutiny.
No.
Which is why you need to watch Robbie Williams as a monkey on an airplane. Just trust me on this.
I will die before I watch that. I swear. If I get to hell That's the first thing. They'll do that thing like that Ludovico experiment from Clockwork Orange, and they'll make me watch that. I don't wish the guy any ill will. I'm sure he's a nice bloke, but I just think we need to. There has to be some sort of like. I just don't think anyone idolises him as much as he does himself.
That's true, but I also think if you watch the film, Rachel, he would admit that himself. Anyway, Margaret has got to the point in her spirituality. One of the things she goes on to do is she has a keyring that she uses as a pendulum, and she uses it to make decisions about everything, because she says, she thinks that God's communicating to her directly, of course, and she thinks that he often does it through this keyring, and so she uses the keyring. But the keyring, they're not things like. Should I leave Robin because, their marriage is increasingly in trouble? It's things like, should I go to the shops today? And she's like, God doesn't want me to have to go to the shops today.
Well, funnily enough, I got myself I got a keyring from my mate in Ibiza. Maybe this is the kind of keyring that we should...
What is that? It's a penis.
It's a green penis.
That is...
It says Ibiza on it, on the side.
What's on the bell end?
Just pattern.
Just a pattern, sure.
Oh, should I go to the gym later? I think that's a yes. Hey, maybe I could conjure up Freddie Mercury with this.
You fucking horror. So she's making decisions, presumably not with a penis keyring from Ibiza. Yeah. Now, Robin really doesn't like all of this stuff because he is very kind of traditional Christian, but also... he's like, it's not worth fighting with her. And she's very strident. I think he doesn't really tend to stand up to her. So they move back to New Zealand. They move to Dunedin, as I said. And the kids, unsurprisingly, kind of struggle to integrate.
Well, he becomes a head teacher, doesn't he?
Yes.
At a school. So that's obviously...
Go on.
No, go on.
Well, I've just remembered. So when they're out there, she becomes kind of obsessed with the women in PNG and this kind of structure and all the knowledge that they have, and tries to sort of make friends with the indigenous population, in particular the women. And they're like, we want fuck all to do with you because we think you're weird. Your house stinks. It's full of shit. And your kids are running around naked, which they were like, that is not how we do things here. And they actually found it quite like insulting that she was sort of allowing her kids to run amok.
Rightly so.
Yeah, and she was meant to be sort of home educating. When they moved back, the kids who were kind of the age where they would be home educated fucking cannot read, cannot write. She hasn't done that due diligence. She's, educated them in whatever other ways, drinks the piss because you've got the sniffles, that kind of stuff. So she doesn't integrate well, and in fact, they think she's really gross. The house thing comes up again and again about the house was filthy.
Yeah. He says, so it was all, the belongings just strewn around everywhere. It was described as semi-derelict. When you see pictures of it, it's just piles of shit everywhere. Not shit, but just piles of bags and things like that. I mean, I could not live like that. That's my worst nightmare.
I mean, I do live like that, but not filthy.
Like, I'm moving very soon, thank Christ. And having the level of I hate having things in boxes. I hate things like that. I'm just going to have to put all this in a bag. I hate it. It's the worst feeling. It has I think it has a psychological effect on you.
Definitely, it's that tidy house, tidy mind thing. But I am someone, because they fucking love a car boot. They love a secondhand shop. So she always goes out and comes back with loads more shit. That is someone who
she's
obviously,
a hoarder.
She's a hoarder. Well, Robin is also is a hoarder as well. So has hoarding tendencies. So the house is full of shit, but also it's filthy because Margaret thinks I shouldn't have to do, if they respected me, I would not have to do any housework. And this is from when her children are very small. So she's like, if they want to show me that they love me and respect me, they will do the housework. So you've got of course a house is disgusting and filthy and there's dirty pots everywhere. When you've got a 4-year-old who's in charge of the laundry.
Well, this woman seems to have some sort of messiah complex. I don't think she's far off a cult leader.
Well, people do say that she kind of runs the family like a cult. They keep quite separate to everyone else. I mean, that bit reminds me of my fucking childhood growing up. But like my family are a bit like it's us against everyone else. And I think that is the same kind of thing that she had. So they move over to New Zealand and the house is massive that they live in, the 65 Every Street. It's huge if you see aerial pictures of it. They, as I say, they struggle to integrate. So all the kids they have by now is... so
1972. 1972.
Yeah.
Arawa, 1970.
Arawa, it's pronounced.
Arawa, 1974. Lanier,
Yeah. Lynette.
1976. And Stephen, 1980.
Yes. Now,
Two unusual names, bookended by two traditional names.
it's
there.
true, yeah.
That's
so
what we've got.
We've gone wild with the girls, and the lads aren't going to get bullied for their names. I mean, I say bullied. Arawa was actually... She was like head girl when she was school. She kind of, whereas David really struggled. So they moved back in 1988. This is, for the past couple of years, Robin and Margaret's marriage had been in trouble. They're drifting apart spiritually, as we know.
Well, to the point of, she refers to, Margaret refers to Robin as a son of Belial, one of the 4 crown princes of hell.
Yes.
I mean, we've all said stuff. And she also said to one of her acquaintances that she would shoot him if she could.
Yes.
Again, we've all said these things.
She, Belial was a thing she was obsessed with. That is a Hebrew kind of name for anything satanic. And she felt it was in the house. She went to her sister.
Tidy up.
But she thought that was all a manifest. Oh, the house is messy because there's Belial in the house. She used to call it Belle in her diary. She used to abbreviate it. Her diary is absolutely wild. She goes over to her sister's house, her sister Jan, and she was like, I'd love to eat this food, Jan. I mean, it looks like you've made a really nice effort, but it's clearly full of Belial and
oh, your food's haunted.
Yeah, she said basically you got the devil in the food, which is such a woman who is jealous of her sister's ability to put on a spread.
Yeah, hang on, that sounds like it's delicious food, doesn't it?
I noticed those eggs are deviled, so won't be touching those.
Bit of devil's food cake.
Yeah, so there's different versions. One is that she doesn't eat anything. One is that she kind of cleanses the food, presumably piss and phlegm again, and then goes in it. She would see it in people as well. In fact, she had in her diary, she would regularly rank. I don't know why I'm laughing because this is horrific. Am I growing up in this? She would regularly rank the children and the family in terms of who had the most of the devil in them.
Great.
Robin was always the most devil.
Well, sounds like it, yeah.
And David was usually 9 times out of 10 the least devil-filled, had the least amount of bell. I mean, I don't want to say David had the least amount of bell in him because it sounds so weird and sexual. But yes, David was usually at the least amount of bell and Robin had the most amount of bell in him. And then the kids would sort of move somewhere around in the middle. She when she arrives back in Dunedin, she immediately tries to kind of recruit people into practicing magic, alternative kind of therapies, and she basically wanted a cult, and everyone was like, oh no, I don't want to spend any time with you, Margaret. You are tough.
You lack the charm and charisma to start this cult.
Yes.
Have you thought of outsourcing?
She also, they were about to go on a family trip somewhere. They got a big van. Obviously, there's loads of them. And she was like, oh, God, all right, well, give me 5 minutes because I need to exercise the van. So, yeah, she would perform exorcisms on things around the place.
Oh, my God.
Now,
well, this has a really bad effect on Robin.
Yeah.
Because their relationship is, she basically tells him to go and live in the shed, doesn't she?
Well, this is such an interesting one. So there's this huge house that they live in, this 65 Every Street, and at the back is a caravan. And she put it in there at first because she was like, I need my own space. She writes some absolutely wild stuff about... She was basically like, I need my own space. And what is it? Oh, let me find. There's a quote she says, which really gives you an insight into what, I'll say a cunt she is. But I'll find it in a bit, but she wants her own space. Now, she's big into sleeping. She loves sleeping. She loves being in bed. And she's like, they all disturb me when I'm in the house, so I need to go and commune with God, and I'll go in this caravan. And then what happens? So she's in the caravan. Bearing in mind, she stays in bed for 6 weeks at one point and sort of brags about it to a friend. And she's like, yeah, I just decided to be in bed, so I stayed in there for 6 weeks. There's a bit she writes in a diary, and she's like, I've been in bed for 3 days, and nobody has come in here and offered me a drink. And it's like, you got children. I mean, these children are in school. Like, No, they're probably not coming in there and trying to wait on your hand and foot because...
Also, they're probably frightened of you because you're mad.
Yes. Not to mention the fact that she would give them so many chores. On a weekend, they'd have about 8 hours of chores a day to do each. They had full-time jobs running this house. Because there was a big garden as well that she's obsessed with. She was obsessed with, what's it called? Like, not tinning fruit, but bottling fruit. So, yeah, she was crackers. So she's in this caravan. She's like, I need my space. I need to speak to I need to speak to, God. Then what happens in Dunedin is quite similar from my experience to British weather. The winter comes in, it's fucking freezing. And she was like, I don't need to be on my own anymore because it's too cold in the caravan.
Oh, yeah.
So she moves back in the house and she goes, Robin, you got too much bell in you. You've got to go to the caravan. So this poor guy who's probably about 7 stones soaking wet through has to go and spend his time living in the caravan in the freezing cold during the winter. And that is the sort of, his life sounds utterly, utterly miserable.
Although we have to address the allegation, don't we, about him?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying he's a good guy, but like I would say everyone we talk about in this has a miserable sounding life. Like no one is having a good one. So she begins to take it upon herself to sort of be a counsellor for the family. In fact,
no. What? May I ask a question? And I've been saying this. Why is it always the maddest people that end up becoming like counsellors and fucking therapists? It's like, you're a lunatic. Genuinely. It blows my mind. The most chaotic people. I'm like, really? You?
Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? But then I would say the ones that like... I think 90% I agree. And then the ones who are like really famous and write the books and do the stuff that makes a big difference are the actual people who can like send an email on time.
I think that the key word we're looking for is recovered when it comes to this kind of thing. I want somebody, I want someone who's been through stuff, who knows stuff, who, especially with drugs and alcohol counselling. I want somebody who's been there, who knows it, knows the struggle. But when somebody is still living I'm not talking about drugs and alcohol, I'm talking about emotional shit. When somebody's living this chaotic life and hasn't grown up.
I know who you're talking about.
Really? Is this where we're going, is it? Because I think the general medical counsellor will have a fucking file on you already, mate.
You're a case study.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
She, when she's coming, I think it's either when she's just moved back from Papua New Guinea or when she is out there, she asks a friend of hers who's like a psychologist or a counsellor, God, I'm really struggling with all these kids. Can you come and speak to us? So she's like, so I interviewed all the family and she basically said, I can't help you. You need a team of incredibly specialised counsellors because everyone in this family has a lot going on and they need huge amounts of support. And she's like, yeah, I think I'll do it on my own. So Margaret becomes the family counsellor. So she'll write in her diary about... I had a busy one today with David. I've been working on centering him at the moment in my counselling and focusing on his feelings of inadequacy and shame and
that I've told him he's got.
Exactly.
You're inadequate and you should be ashamed of yourself.
This is the quote I wanted. She writes in her
I think
diary.
all men should be told that, to be quite honest with you. And some women, i.e. the two at the back of that gig. You're inadequate and you should be ashamed of yourself.
This is the quote I want to share. She said, I honestly think my main shortcoming is I don't prioritise myself.
Been in bed for 6 weeks, mate. Fucking hell. What is this woman? She's a narcissist.
She is really ahead of the curve because she talks how people unfairly characterise the worst millennials and Gen Zs talking. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. The way she talks about herself is like, actually, my biggest shortcoming is I'm not prioritising myself in this situation.
Like, I literally just need to go to bed for 6 weeks. Like, yeah, I need to think about myself.
She asks God to banish Belle from the house. She's like, I cannot deal with Belle being in the house. And then she went, don't worry, guys, I've sorted it all. It's officially gone. So they kind of celebrate the day that Belle is officially banished from the house. But she insists that she wants the kids to recommit to God and they needed to sort of prove that they had tried hard enough to do that. these poor children are being set like these impossible tasks on the whim of what seems to be her mental health. She also is like, oh, Robin, you're absolutely full of bell again. So she's like, come in here, I'm going to have to hypnotise you. So he's being hypnotised all the time by her and presumably her penis keyring to get the devil out. And he's just, it is hypnotic when you swing that back and forth.
I think that's what everyone's cock looks like when they come back from Ibiza, isn't it?
Oh my God. I wish that there was, sorry if you're listening to this.
It's
but
green.
Go green.
I'll post a picture of it.
Yeah, we'll put it on the
old
page.
social medias.
Now, she wants to end the relationship with Robin, but there's a problem because she's also decided in this time that she wants to build like a refuge, would you call it? Like a retreat. So there's this massive house they have is surrounded by greenery. They worked really hard. I say she, David, has worked very hard on the garden. So it's very fruitful. And it's kind of like they go to school and then they come back and they're enveloped in this green. She said she wanted it to feel like that, like they were in Papua New Guinea, where you're in like a paradise cut off from the rest of the world, where you're safe. It's a sanctuary. So the idea is that they would build a 6-bedroom house. She was going to design it herself. Who was the project manager? God. Apparently,
Great.
God was telling her how to
Do you know
design
what?
it.
That God is my project manager.
I fucking hell. Imagine Kevin MacLeod on Grand Designs being like, so you've got God leading this project
As
forward.
a project manager.
Do you know, I met him recently. What
yeah?
a lovely man. Do you
He's a
know
nice man.
Really nice man. He, he was living in Italy as he was a professional singer when he was like 19, like opera singer. Isn't that mad?
Well, interestingly, that's what David thinking wanted to be, isn't it?
And you've never seen them in the same room together.
Ooh, uh-oh.
Oh my God, imagine if David Bain was hosting Grand Designs. Well, she buys this huge, like those drawing boards that architects have, just slaps it in one of the kids' bedrooms.
Great.
So with all the shit and clutter, apparently her room was so bad, there was a path that would go there was a path that would go out.
I hate this.
And there was
hate this.
A path that would go to, I think, like David's room, and then that was it.
Honestly, I couldn't live like that. I couldn't.
Well, I don't think I always think I'm like 2 newspaper stacks off being on a hoarder documentary anyway. There's a lot of stuff in my house, but I can pass through it. Anyway, what a weird, like, low bar to have given myself. So she puts this massive drawing board in the kids' room, starts designing this house. Like I say, huge 6-bedroom. The idea is that the family will move there and then other people can come and stay as well. Now, from the beginning, she says, I do not want Robin in that house. And David's like, we don't want my dad in the house. It's nothing to do with it.
You little creep.
She wants to leave Robin. In like reality, she can't afford to. Robin is the one making the wage. I think lots of the stuff is in his name. They live very frugally. They're secretly fucking wedged. They've got 2 plots of land. They've got stocks and shares, and they've got 50 grand in an offshore account. Like they are.
It's interesting when people are like, "Hey, there's the devil in this house. Hey, drink my own piss. Hey, but I've got 2 million in the fucking bank." It's bonkers.
Who here is surprised that a bunch of fucking hippies is secretly absolutely wedged? Like, yeah, I'm not. Every hippie I've ever met is so fucking independently wealthy you would not believe.
Yeah, it's bonkers. Having said that, you can live how you want when you know you've got a cushion to fall back on, can't
exactly.
you?
How many working class hippies do you know? None.
The closest I get is a bag of crystals. That's it.
You're the closest to a working class hippie.
I am the closest you're going to get. I've got a pair of tie-dye shorts and a bag of crystals. That's literally it.
So she was like, wanted to leave Robin, but really the finances are tied up in him. But she did also believe, she'd written in her diary that I actually think God's going to protect me and he'll cover the deposit, but I'm not sure that's a compelling argument with the bank. So they start working on this house and start building this house, and it's all sort of like, it's a really all-consuming thing. It's all that's spoken about in the house all the time. Robin hates the idea of it, but doesn't want to upset anyone. But it's like, how much is it costing? And she's like, you got the devil in you.
All right, this again, fine.
So anytime he kind of challenges anything, he gets a real resistance from Margaret. And then as a result, David. He and David are really sort of clashing by this point. So Robin's out in the caravan. some of the kids do complain to other people they don't like her staying in bed and they think she's lazy and they think she's selfish.
Yeah, I mean, 6 weeks in bed, if you're not ill, I'd say you're pretty fucking lazy. The only time you should be in bed for 6 weeks is if you're in a coma.
Yeah, or some kind of art installation / protest.
Yeah. Even John and Yoko weren't in bed for that bloody long, were they?
No, they weren't. You know, she stayed in bed on Christmas Day for the kids.
You piece of shit.
That's exactly what one of the daughters goes on to say later. Be like, she could have like fucking got out of bed on. And I want to say, like, I understand there are people who have mental health problems where you physically just can't do it. That is not what's going on.
No,
here.
this is control. This is abuse.
Yeah, I think she is. She's withdrawing her presence, her comfort, yeah, all that stuff. So they decide they have these family meetings all the time where she's like, I'm calling a family meeting.
Do you know what? We don't even have a family WhatsApp group.
Same.
And I am so happy with that.
I never had a family meeting, I never had a family holiday, never had a family WhatsApp group. We're not that kind.
We're not, we don't go to parties, we don't do all, no.
I have a WhatsApp group with my siblings, which I love when I get to, usually me and one of my brothers, I won't say who's who, but it is usually changed to a name that humiliates the other brother, which is a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Lovely bit of business.
It is really he once said, it's been called for about 4 years, it's been called £8 jeans, because he was saying he was going to buy some new jeans and we were like, don't you normally pay? He was like, yeah, I want to, I'll spend some proper money on them. Is this too much money or shit? And then we were like, don't you pay about £8 for your jeans normally? And because he loves design labels, he went fucking ballistic. And so we changed it to £8 jeans. So anyway, God, I fucking love it. Like just a not even that funny joke, but like that ruins a sibling's life. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
So, the kids are kind of trying to run this house, but they are children. They're also really busy. They're all involved with like extracurricular stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, they're a very talented musical family. Margaret's very musical growing up as well, but like they're all singers. They're all involved in Amdram. Mm-hmm. But apparently it was also David had once confided in a friend, we try and stay out the house as much as we can because she's really hard to be in the house
She's
with.
hard to be within. It's a shit tip.
It's a shit tip, yeah. So the house, it's horrible. I mean, when the house is searched on the day of the murders, there's maggots in the bath. Like, this is...
Oh my God, the only people in that house having a wash were the maggots. My God, that's disgusting.
There's maggots being like, can you get some more Head and Shoulders, please? We've run out.
I must have mentioned the coffee machine before. Have I mentioned this?
No, don't think so.
So when I worked at the University of Manchester, just before I moved to London, one of my jobs in the morning was to make sure the coffee machine was ready for the academics, because heaven forfend, they shouldn't, they should pay for a cup of tea. Anyway, this particular point, I'd been off for about a week on holiday, and I came in to do the coffee machine. And because a lot of people who work at the university are arrogant, they would just pour in their, drink remnants into the drip tray, just pouring it in, and it was like July or something, it was really hot. So they'd just be like, and it says don't put... Anyway, look, the point is I opened it was full of maggots. Ooh. So I got it, and I had to clean it all out, and I just said to my boss at the time, I went, that coffee machine was full of maggots, and I don't get fucking paid enough to be cleaning maggots out of a fucking coffee machine. So can you send an email around?
That's absolutely fucking disgusting.
Genuinely. I can still smell the smell of the curdled
maggots.
Milk.
But also, maggots has such a distinct smell. As a farmer's daughter, I will tell you this, that like I know when I can smell maggots. It's almost like sweet. It's horrible.
It feels more of a feeling than a smell, if that makes sense.
Like
Do you
a
know
sensation.
What I mean? Yeah. Absolutely disgusting. Well, the one bit of comfort was they were still drinking out of that coffee machine while there was fucking maggots in it. So do you know what? Good.
Thrilled.
Yeah.
So
enjoy your maggots.
Nice work. Get on a magnet. A magnet. Magnet. Fucking hell, Kiri, get some sleep. So they're all doing extracurricular. They're all doing opera. Now, around this time, I'm going to focus on David more, and it'll become apparent why, if you're not familiar with the case. It's prom. Now, no one's asked him to prom because he's a bit of a weird outsider. He's bullied a lot in school. Apparently, he's always sort of the butt of jokes. someone describes him as, he's one of those kids where, just things keep happening to him. And I knew exactly what they meant when they said that. Now, there was another girl called Caroline who was also kind of on the outside. And she was like, I know we don't go out or anything, but do you want to be my date to prom? And then we both get to go with someone. And he's like, yeah, great. And then he's like, oh, we should go for a trip before we go. And she's like, wonderful. So they go ice skating. And then she was like, and after that, he would phone my house every single day. As soon as I got home from school, I couldn't get him off the phone. He'd be on the phone for hours and hours and hours. He was so intense. He was either phoning me all the time or not speaking to me because of something, which I think is a behaviour that is modelled on how Margaret used to run things. So it's hot and cold, really intense, then pulling away, then really full on again. It got to the point where she's like, I had to just stop having anything to do with him because it was
a bit much.
It was a bit much, yeah. So he's really good at opera, it has to be said. He joins, he goes through school, he graduates, he joins an organisation called Opera Alive, and he works sort of part-time on productions with them. Now, when this is horrible. So he has a paper round, and one day he's saying to his friend, I always see this girl out running, and we chat to each other every now and then. David was also big into running. And he was like, I really like her. And then he said one day, big trigger warning coming up, I've worked out how I would rape her and get away with it. Did you read about this? No. This is nuts. Okay, well, strap the fuck in, Rachel.
So he says this to his friend?
He says to his friend, I've worked it out. He says, because she always goes, a lot of times she goes for a run when I'm on my paper round. So what I would do is I would drop off the papers a little bit early, and then I would go and sexually assault her. Then I would go back on my paper round, and then I would have an alibi. Everyone knows where I'm going to be at what time. Then he gets out a textbook and he's written down the name of the house and what time between this and this is when I see them. This person goes to work at this time. He has a full itinerary of where people will be to witness him, what time he needs to be there for it not to be stood out.
Interesting, and which is interesting for what happens later on, isn't it?
Yeah, so he has this full fantasy that he has premeditated, that he has planned, and that he has got the timings for. I think this is very significant. So
very.
He goes back, so he's basically decides that he wants to study zoology in university, and he goes to uni. He just does so badly in all the exams that he drops out, and he signs on essentially. Then he gets the job with the opera, and he's like, okay, I can manage this. I'll have my paper round, do my opera stuff, working on kind of productions with them, and then I can still sign on. It's not compromising anything, and I can work for my mum. And he is offered a job by his uncle, a full-time job with like good pay, and he says, no, I need to stay at home and help my mum. And I don't know if that came from Margaret or him, but he was like, there's too much work to do on building this house and, doing this garden and stuff. So it's really interesting when you hear people who know the family talk about going over to visit the house. Loads of them were like, I really like Robin, thought he was really sweet, thought he was really kind, thought Margaret was tough, was very overbearing. Loads of them said, I didn't feel safe around David, and really didn't want to be left alone with him, especially the girls. And he was described as, he was like a bomb waiting to explode. So loads of like intense nervous energy. Now, I was listening to like a court, someone giving testimony in the court, maybe it's in the second trial, I can't remember, second trial or first trial, about Margaret. And New Zealand people, their accent is so beautiful and kind of proper, because it's obviously like, they speak, certainly in this case, speak English, but their vowels are very clipped, so they sort of like enunciate, which sounds so gorgeous. But then everything they say, I think, sounds really polite. So she's talking about Margaret, and she's also trying not to slag her off, but she's like, Margaret, how would I describe her? She was flaky. She was opinionated. When you had a conversation with her, she would dominate. She wasn't a conversation so much as her just expecting you to listen. And she's been like really horrible about her.
Do you know,
in a lovely way.
I was watching a true crime documentary the other day, and because I wasn't paying attention at first, because it's nice background noise, isn't it? There was a woman they were talking about, and because we're so used to the women being the victim in a true crime documentary, they were like, she had a really bad attitude and she was this and she was that and she used to be... And I was like, oh my God, imagine being murdered. And this is the best that they can come up with. They're not even saying she lights up a room. This is terrible. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, this is just... And then I went, she did the crime. Right, got ya. Okay.
So
I often wonder about that. Like, if anything happened to me, what would we say? She's bad-tempered.
I think I'd be like, oh.
I'll tell you what, she was punctual, though. She was clean, reliable, but a fucking arsehole.
I don't think it was... I think I'd be really diplomatic. I'd be like, well, she had some strong opinions and what else would I say? She's very good at buying presents. Yeah. That's what I'd say.
I'd say about you, she was a vegan.
She never mentioned it either. So,
I don't know if anyone knew this about her, but she was actually a vegan.
And she's Welsh. It does come up every now and then.
Yeah, and nobody knew those things about her. Very, very private about those two things.
So about this time, Robin is working in a tiny primary school. In fact, a bit earlier than this, he gets this job, right? Working in this beach school. Tiny primary school. It only has 30 kids in it. It basically has a junior class and a senior class. And it's in an area where they say that a lot of the kids come from non-traditional families in terms of not two-parent families. And there's a lot of the kids have a slightly tougher time. It's still quite stigmatised back then. And do you know what? I'm just going to wipe... I hate it when I get off this afterwards and then I see that I've got looks like I've been crying all night. Anyway.
Oh, you look nice.
Do you ever get it when you got your eyelashes, the mascara goes on the bottom underneath your eyes. So it's that. But then it just looks like I'm hungover. But anyway. So he's working in this tiny beach school. It is seen as a demotion from the kind of thing he was doing, in particular in Papua New Guinea. Even though he's sort of very high up and essentially the head teacher, he's considered to be very chaotic, paperwork everywhere, but really good at his job, really good. It's about...
Man needs an assistant.
The man needs an assistant. Every man needs an assistant. And usually it's called his fucking wife.
Yeah. Unpaid labour.
Can you just do my emotional labour for me? Darling, I'd be absolutely thrilled to shorten my lifespan for you. So the school, this beach school, is about an hour away. So what he does is it's quite a commute. He Monday nights he goes back home after school because he has choir practice that he wants to go to, and then Tuesday through till Thursday he sleeps in a van that used to be parked up on the school field, and everyone was like, "Can you get that weird van off the school field, please?" And people complained, and so he just moved it around the corner to a road. But he'd go in and he'd shower in the staff room and get ready there. It's quite a grim. There are allegations against him, but it's quite a grim existence.
Yeah.
So he moves this thing around to the side road, but he's still basically living at the school for most of the time. And this is where the gulf with the family really stretches apart, because Margaret is slagging him off a lot in the house. The kids are like, he's why mum is worse, is because he's not here. It's a dereliction of his duties. And at that time, David steps in and goes, well, I'm the man of the house now. He's not here. So when he does come back, he goes and lives in that caravan at the bottom of the, garden. He's described by his co-teacher that she talks about him in glowing terms, but that's not to say he's not a bad person. She was like, it's a tiny school, there's 2 classrooms and we have a door between us and the door was never shut. She was like, he never shouted at the kids. He was always very loving. He was very kind. These kids were difficult to teach and he was always really respectful with them. He did loads of things like he'd have big conference calls with other schools, which, bearing in mind, this is 1992, very ahead of its time. He gets 3 computers for the school, which, yeah. And he puts it in the classroom.
Did he get them with the Tesco vouchers? Do you remember that? Was it Tesco computers for schools?
It was computers for schools. I'm like, get it away. No, I don't have children.
I have, do you know, these, our computers at school were so fucking, we didn't have I was at school before the internet. So secondary school, we had these computers and it was still there. Print with the holes in the side of the pages.
The holes in the side, yeah.
And everything was green on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Yeah, black with green writing on the screen. I remember that.
Who knew I could do an impression of a printer?
Listen, you've got layers. That should be a character for your new show.
There we go.
It's the printer arguing with a little paperclip from Microsoft.
Oh my God, I love that bit. I love that bit that she does. What's that paperclip's name?
Clippy.
Is it really?
It's called Clippy, yeah.
I always used to go, here's that nosy cunt. What does he want?
You're writing a letter. Fuck off. It looks like you're writing a manifesto. Can I help you? No. I'm worried that that's someone's joke now, but I think it might be a tarot joke that we wrote. So it's fine. Anyway, so there's 3 computers in this tiny school. Bearing in mind there's 11 kids in the junior classroom. And she was like, they were using the computer to type their name. This is really unusual ahead of the time stuff, but he wanted to make sure that just because they came from this kind of very poor area, that it didn't mean that they couldn't go on to do other things. So about this time, Margaret is like totally convinced God is building the house. The way the house is designed, so there's these bedrooms. Margaret has this big bedroom. There's a bathroom, and it adjoins to another bedroom, which is David's. So they kind of have like not adjoining bedrooms, but there's adjoined by, they share a bathroom, David and Margaret, so the son and the mother. It's a bit weird to me that you would be an adult man who wants to share a bathroom with your mother, but
Yeah, it's very weird.
okay, good, right. I thought it was
The
just
whole
me.
thing's fucking weird.
Again, Robin was like, I'm not sure what I think about this. And David's like, shut up, it's nothing to do with you.
You leave me alone with my mother.
So he, about this time, so 1993, Lynette leaves the house.
Sounds like a brand of tampons.
Well, she really clashes with Margaret. Is like, I can't live with her. And she kind of takes... It flip-flops. She takes Robin's side, is how lots of people see it, but then that becomes very complicated with what happens later. So she moves out. It's 1993. She is too young to sign on, so she needs Margaret's signature and Robin's signature to sign on. You need parental permission. They won't give it to her. Now, she's smoking loads of weed at the time, and she basically has to make a living. So she starts working as an escort. There's kind of this weird situation where a guy called Dean Cottle buys her a phone, and people are like, oh, well, he was using that to blackmail her, and was like, he met her as an escort and then bought her a phone and then was like, you have to pay me that back in sex now. And if you don't, I'm going to tell your parents what you do. And she was terrified of the ramifications of that.
Ooh, it's like a different version of Pretty Woman, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really just grim. Her life sounds so tough and grim. Apparently she was very kind of like needy, which is also how David is described, but then would immediately open up to strangers. There's a guy who says, oh, I met her, and after about 5 minutes, she says, oh yeah, I used to live in Papua New Guinea and I was raped there. And he was like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. My name's Matthew, kind of thing.
I mean, can I be awful? That sounds like every conversation I have with an upper class woman at a party.
Oh, fucking hell, Rachel. So she says, oh, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you very much.
You've got bowel in you.
I have. Don't worry, I've saved that phlegm though. I'm gonna wash it down with some piss and cure it all.
Delish.
So she says, I used to live in Papua New Guinea. I was raped. And she's like, by a black guy. And she said, I actually had a black baby, but gave it up for adoption or something. And then he's like, oh, okay. Gets to know her, stays friends with her. Later on, she's like, oh, yeah, when I was in Papua New Guinea, I was raped, but I had an abortion. So, like, the stories kind of change all the time. Yeah. She's, just seems to be a really, really vulnerable young person.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad, but again, it does sound like a Posh Girls Edinburgh show.
Fucking hell. She also said that she had attempted suicide, and that her sister had found her, Arawa had found her after she'd slashed her wrists.
Ugh.
And got her help in time. But then this guy goes on to say, I was in the gym with her once and I looked at her wrist and there was like no scarring, nothing like that. And I think she saw me looking and then she never mentioned it again. So, excuse me. God, I'm getting all the reflexes out, aren't I? Bang out a sneeze, do a yawn.
keep it at that.
Yeah, keep it there. No more bodily functions.
We'll leave it there, thanks.
So she has a really difficult relationship with Margaret in particular. There's this weird stuff going on with her and Robin. She also has a very intense relationship with David. She will refer to him as my David. Her girlfriends were like, he's really controlling of her. He's really threatening with her. He gets really jealous with any relationship she have with men. And someone said they're more like a boyfriend and girlfriend than a brother and sister. Yes. Now,
I mean, we all know people like that.
She was really worried about his reaction to her being a sort of, wait, who do you know like that?
There's always these weird brother-sister, like, that's my brother. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yes.
I do anything for my sister.
Yeah.
All right. Anything? Just that. I hate that sort of. I mean, it's very nice when siblings are close. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it's like when it's quite performative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like obviously you stick up for your siblings and all that kind of stuff. But I just think sometimes I'm like, it's like you're gonna have to get past me if you want to be with him. All right, creep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Ugh.
It's weird. It's like those T-shirts that you see that pop up on like Facebook every so often that say, if you want to be with my daughter, you get... It's like, you should not be
It's like,
interested.
you're going to have to prise my penis out of her vagina first.
Exactly. It's so fucking weird. Like, we get it. Your parents protect you, and we get it. You like your siblings.
I love it. Have you seen those things? I think it's principally America, but I think it's come over here. These send me under. Those promise rings that you give to your daughter that's like,
oh, no.
I promise that, like, what? Your hymen is kind of contractually mine until you get married? Like,
vile. It is vile. On a different note, I just came back to me. I saw a bloke in the gym the other day with a T-shirt on that just said, big ass energy.
Did he have a big ass?
No, but I think it meant as if like big ass energy.
Oh, right.
But I'm just thinking.
I thought, is he a power bottom?
It really made me laugh because it was just sort of, big ass energy. But it's like, big ass energy. It really fucking tickled me.
So, before, this is all leading up to just before the murders. Now, about this time, she starts telling people that Robin has molested her and there's incest in the house, and that she...
I was so tempted to say that, like, incest in the house.
Yeah, but you just did it.
And I just did it, and I'm sorry.
So yeah, Lynette is like, Robin's been molesting me. And has told quite a lot of people this, almost a lot of time on first encounter. I don't not believe her. I do have an alternate theory on this that is probably problematic, and especially because David has been found innocent. But sometimes there is a case with like in fostering, right? Sometimes, you know, young people will make allegations, you know, because they are true. Because they're scared of things, because they're trying, you know, there's loads of different reasons. And sometimes an allegation of like a sexual nature is made about, let's say, a foster parent, and obviously an investigation is carried out, and what will happen is they'll find out that there isn't anything going on, but what has happened to that child has happened with someone else. And they are seeing if when they make an allegation, anyone listens. And what happens sometimes with these investigations is they find out that, like, no, the foster family hasn't done it, but someone else has. And they were seeing if anyone would believe them, take them seriously, if they would be protected, if they'd be punished, right? And they were kind of doing it in inverted commas, the safest way. And I don't know, but like, you've got this brother that they're all scared of. Arawa is terrified because he's bought a rifle, and apparently he's threatened the family with it. He locks the living room. He won't let them in. They have to ask permission to use it. It's all very strange. He's very intense with the girls, with their relationship with men. He's very controlling. Margaret even writes in her diary, I've had to speak to David, and bearing in mind she like thinks he can do no wrong, about how he is with the kids, because I had to remind him, you are not their father. You don't treat them like this. You don't do this stuff to them. And so I wonder if, like, there was an incestuous relationship, and she's accused, like, in inverted commas, the safest person she can to see how people would react, to see if anything would be done. And then, you know, as it gets investigated, in inverted commas, the truth then will be safer to come out. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that is a feasible thing that could happen. And yeah, there you go.
It's just a theory.
It's just a theory. But she was really worried about, you know, my David and upsetting him. And it basically just sounded like two girls were kind of creeped out by him. So it's he started singing lessons. In fact, he goes back to university and he is studying classical music and something else.
Yeah, there's something else. It's classical music and studying music and classics.
That's it. Yes. Sorry. Yes. So this is 1994. This is just, I'm going to give you an update on where everyone is, and then we were going to finish this part one because we're into the horrific murders. So it's 1994. This is sort of where they're all up to in the last weekend. Robin has been deteriorating mentally. He's been applying for other jobs. No one will give him a job. He's kind of too old. And he is thought to still be a good teacher, but he's lost his spark. He's lost his sense of humour. He's really struggling to manage his workload. He lost so much weight, he was described as being cadaverous.
Ugh.
Which will become relevant.
Darling, one can only dream.
Darling, you're absolutely looking cadaverous.
You are looking cadaverous.
What's your secret?
Tell me, what aren't you eating?
Piss and phlegm. So he is very, very thin. This is important, and we'll come back later on when it comes to the murders. There's stacks of papers everywhere in his classroom. There's piles and piles of unopened posts. The classroom has become a chaotic extension of the house in terms of how messy it is. Like I say, he wants to move, but no one's giving him an interview. And he's just kind of sad and a shadow of himself. And, you know, there's... One of the reasons why they think that he might have done it is because he's very depressed. He had nothing to live for. There is a weird detail, though, where sort of on like the Thursday or Friday before the murders, he phones up and he's asking about relief cover for the following week for him or another teacher. It's not made clear if it's him or the other teacher. And people went, well, he knew he was going to kill them and kill himself, and that's why he was organising cover for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that would have...
Yeah, and on the flip side, he also phoned up another woman and was like, I need to get some funding for these kids to get them some extra support. And she's like, okay, can you come in Monday? He's like, yeah, great, let's have a meeting Monday and let's get these kids this support they need. So he had planned to go in and do something that he really cared about on the Monday.
Yeah.
And yet on the flip side, they go, yeah, but he did ask for cover, but it's like, but it could have been for him, it could have been for anyone else. Anyway, so he's really sort of disheveled looking, but he has recently, in the last couple of months, the job was meant to come with a schoolhouse and it wasn't ready for whatever reason, so he's living in the van. He's been given the schoolhouse by the beach school, so he's got somewhere at least nicer to live than the van. Lynette moves in with him. Now, she kind of wants to keep her independence, so she still has the flat and is sort of flitting between the two. She goes and sees her mates, and then we'll go back to Robin's, which is strange considering, or is it strange? I don't know, actually, the like victimology of someone in an abusive relationship with a parent, whether you're more likely to live with them or not. But like, from the layman looking in, I'm like, why would you go and live with someone who's abusing you? But anyway, so Lynette has been telling a lot of people, you know, my dad has been abusing me and that there's incest going on. A few days before, like the week before, she is offered a job. She has been signing on for a bit now because she's turned 18, so she's been able to get the dole. As a result, she stopped doing the sex work. She doesn't really need the money. She's still smoking loads of weed. She gets another job. She goes for an interview for a telemarketing company, for a cleaning company. She gets it. So everything's like moving forward. She's feeling sort of much better. She also was complaining to people that she thought that her dad was being isolated by David and Margaret. They were sort of like pushing him out the house. She wants to move home, though, to Margaret's. Like, it's all quite all over the place with this young woman. I think she sort of tells people different things. Arrow is doing great. She's head girl, and she had graduated. She'd done really well. She was now doing teacher training. She's in her second year. She worked a lot as well. So as well as doing teacher training, I think she was also doing something in university as well. She had a babysitting job and she worked in the cafe at the museum. She was really well liked. Everyone thought she's a fucking grafter and she's not as mad as the other ones. So she had this weird thing where she was really isolated because she said to a friend, she went and met them at like the cinema and she was like, will you get a lift home with me? And she's like, I've got a lift. And she's like, please, I don't want to be alone in the car with my brother. What a nut sentiment. And she's like, okay, I really don't like your brother either. And then she's like,
Don't you say that about my brother.
And she's like, I'm creeped out by your brother. And then she said, well, he won't he insists he drives me everywhere. And then he just comes along, which is why I haven't seen you guys for ages. He just was isolating her. He would manipulate her, wouldn't really let her go out unless he was watching and or with her.
Very odd. Don't like this.
Very controlling.
Bad vibes.
Yeah, and she kept referring to the stress of a big family secret. And she was like, this is family secret. And she kind of there was a moment where she nearly confides in a friend, but she kept looking around. She's worried her family would hear her. So yeah, it's all just very strange. She's controlling parts of the house. Stephen is in a high school. There's not much mentioned about him. Now, Margaret's behaviour is escalating. She's threatening to sell everything, kick the kids out, and just her and Stephen will go and get a townhouse together. She had been telling someone before, Dave, I'm very proud of David because he's actually head of the household now and he's stepped up where Robin's failed as a man. And, but then she did say, I've had to warn him about overstepping his boundary with his siblings. Now, David is, as you say, studying music and classics at Otago University. He's still, because of his timetable, still able to be signing on. He has got a part-time job with the papers. Now, he'd take his family dog. This becomes relevant. He takes his family dog, Cassie, I think it's called, out on the paper run with him. He'd often run. And he had just finished singing in The Tempest. And he met a girl, actually. He met a girl, a British girl. She got a British accent, who was she was in the orchestra. He is desperate to get Robin out of their lives completely, bearing in mind he's not really living there. But someone says, well, why doesn't your mum just divorce him? He went, no, it's up to him to realise that he needs to move out. So again, all these like sort of mad, quite manipulative rules. He keeps having fights with Robin over like overstepping his boundaries and not being welcome in the house. And there's a thing with the chainsaw that happens the night before everyone's killed where he and Robin have a massive argument about this chainsaw. He's like, I need the chainsaw for building the house, and Dad had moved the chainsaw and he knows that I want him to put it back. And he was just trying to exert his authority on me. But it turns out about 2 weeks earlier, David had nearly cut his own leg off with a chainsaw. So his dad was like, I don't think you should have that chainsaw that you can't really use, and I'm using it anyway.
Oh, God.
All wild. And about this time, in the week before, David has a premonition. He has a premonition.
Handy.
To a friend, he said, I don't know why, I just think something absolutely terrible is going to happen. And I've just got this feeling, and I don't know what it is, but I've had a premonition. And they were like, oh, right, okay. And he's like, I just want you to know that. And I'm like, okay. So they spend the night having this family meeting. Lynette is apparently freaking out. She doesn't want to go to this family meeting. It's rumoured that the incest is going to be outed, and that's why she doesn't want to go. But David has said, I'm picking you up, you've got to come. So they arrive for this family meeting. Margaret's like, I'll cook a nice dinner for everyone. We're all going to have a family dinner. Apparently she might crave some fish, and she goes, go to the chippy and get some chips. So as well as there being a murder, that house full of fucking stunk of fish as well.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Is maggots
Disgusting.
in the bath, fish in the microwave.
Oh, my God, it's hell.
It's like a horrible Sesame Street
the
episode.
devil is really in that house. It's absolutely gross.
This place fucking whiffs of Belle, if I'm completely honest. So they have this family meal of chippy and fish, and they watch a nature documentary that he'd borrowed from his missus. But apparently at some point Robin and Margaret want to watch something else, and there's a big fight over David having to switch off his nature documentary.
I want to watch me animals.
He goes to bed really early, like 8:30, 9:30, something like that. And he says, oh, later on I'm woken up by someone driving away in the car. And so there's two sides to this. Number one, is they always go and immediately clear the credit card when they get paid. And so they were going to the cash point to do that, which always happens. And that is what happens. You know, they go and they pay whoever it is. It's either Margaret or Robin goes and pays it off. But then the people who say that he's innocent go, no, that was Margaret driving to the cash point to take loads of money out to start a new life because they'd heard about the incest allegations. Now, not very much money is taken out, and in fact it is just used to sort of like largely pay off the credit card, so there's no interest. So there's this, they go to bed. Apparently there's some revelation at this family meeting, but maybe there isn't. And then the next thing we'll hear about is a call made to emergency services by David saying they're all dead the next morning.
Well.
And he is legally innocent.
He is.
He is legally innocent.
Part 2 coming soon.
Part 2 coming soon.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for everyone who's come to watch us. Tickets are on sale for Halloween.
Halloween at Walthamstow.
There's
not many left.
Where I won't be anymore. That'll nearest gig to where I used to live.
It literally,
around the corner.
Yeah, around the corner. And now you're moving away.
And I'm moving. Then my Showgirl is on YouTube to watch. You can go and watch that on YouTube. Go and enjoy that if you wish. And that's it, really.
Well done.
Got hopefully some news about Christmas soon.
Very soon. I was chatting to Owen last night, I think. So fingers crossed. It's just always, listen, we always want to do a Christmas show, but it's, the Pantos aren't mad keen on having us on over their beautiful beanstalk set. So it's always a bit of tricky, which is why we're sometimes doing it earlier and things like that. But we are working, we've got some, if any of the 3 places that are mooted come up, I think they're banging. And it will be, we're doing London, Halloween, it'll be towards the north, if the 3 options on the table, I think, if they can come off.
Lovely stuff. And we say congratulations to our producer Owen, who's welcomed a new baby.
Yes. Congratulations.
There we go.
That's it.
That's the round robin.
That's it. That's all the things. Yeah, I've got literally nothing to report.
Oh, I forgot to mention. I'll tell you about this next time because I've got to go. The worst day out I've ever had. Oh, God.
Wait, did you go with Tim somewhere on a recce?
I think it's made me ill. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever recover from that. All you need to know is it was worse than Mount Fuji.
Okay, can we start with this on part 2?
Please, just remind me about it.
I hope I don't get him in shit here, but he messaged me and he goes, Rachel came with me on a recce and went, I've got a feeling it's going to get a mention on the next podcast.
Look, it's taken me a while to recover from this. So much so I blocked it out for about a week and it's now at the forefront of my mind. So we'll talk about that next time. But thank you.
Juicy.
Thank you for listening. See you later.
Bye.